Hi everybody, Stuart here. I'm going to share my thoughts on online learning because I am a massive fan. Now, bearing in mind, I make much of my living traveling around, running workshops and masterclasses and coaching. I'm probably the person who shouldn't be doing this because that's potentially sort of changing the way I work. But it's absolutely vital that we embrace online learning. So hopefully, what I do with this short video is just show you how easy it can be, and I'm going to talk about at least 5 of the main benefits of online learning versus face-to-face, and also kind of some of the benefits of some of the stuff you can do within online learning. So let's jump straight in and have a look at it. In terms of let's fire it up and get some power going to online learning. And think about the first thing for me is around investment. The great thing about online learning is fundamentally cheap. Okay, so that is great in terms of value for money. It is such good value for money. So I really encourage you to embrace that and take a look at it in terms of some of the offers that are out there, because it is really good value for money. Because if you imagine face to face, for me to run a workshop, I need other people in the room and I need a significant investment to get to where you are. But with online learning, it can be done pretty economically. So that's bonus ball number one. The second thing to look at, which is really obvious, but it just spans so many different things, is available on the web, phone, and tablet. So the workshops that I put together, I'm busy doing quite a lot at the moment. They're all available on web-based, so you can do that, sitting from home on your laptop. You can download them to your smartphone as well if you want. So if you're traveling on the move, that's great. Or on a tablet, they're really good for that. For me, I was stuck in a traffic jam the other day, and it was pretty big. It was hours, a couple of hours, and I had the iPad going with some of my online courses. Now, I'll state straight away, I wasn't looking at the screen. I was just listening to the audio. There was a lot of interviews on there and things like that, and they were actually ones I'd taken before, so I didn't need to look at the screen for anything. But it's a fabulous way to learn, so really kind of helpful in that front. So here I am in Storm Beach Base Camp, tucked away in the UK, and yeah, you can be anywhere in the world and accessing all the good stuff for things that I've put together, and of course other people who put things together on the online learning front. So that's number two. Number three, this is an interesting one. I would say this is where face-to-face and online kind of meet really. There are limited distractions. When it comes to face-to-face groups, you do get a few distractions, which can be really helpful, don't get me wrong, where someone in the group or a group will say, what about this? How does this relate? But what I find is I often come away from my workshops going, well, I had to, shorten this bit, stretch this bit, which is good and flex into the needs. But where online learning is different, really I can impart all my great stuff, and I know there aren't any distractions really from my end anyway. Of course, I know you've got to manage stuff your end, but ultimately, if I put together 10 hours worth of content, you will get that, providing you've got the time to look at it and do that. Whereas if I went to a group, so 10 hours worth of content over a couple of days, I might not have the ability to do that with distractions. So that's number one. And the other great thing, which I kind of alluded to earlier when I was in the car, is repetition. So, this isn't just a one-hit wonder. You own the course forever and ever, and you can repeat it. So I've done that quite a lot. Like I say, just to kind of reinforce, I'll go back to my favourite bits. The repetition is there. So sometimes I go through the overall course that I take and then go back and go, right, which bits do I really want to focus on? I've got the whole story now, and which bits do I want to focus on? So repetition is great, and that is brilliant for learning. Both these points are really important in terms of applying what you've learned on the online courses. Now, 2 more areas to look at. I would say this is where sometimes online learning hasn't yet reached its maturity. So do be careful in the ones that you choose. I, of course, make sure I adhere to all these principles in the courses I deliver. But for me, sometimes courses are a bit one-dimensional. Okay, mine are definitely 3D, 4D, 5D, because I use lots of different methods, which I'll talk about in a minute. But sometimes they can be a bit dimensional, and therefore you kind of can lose it a little bit. I took one the other day, which was really one guy in front of the camera the whole time. And once you've got used to who he is and what he looks like and how he sounds, there's nothing else really changing. It's not really dynamic. And by the end, I was like, okay, get on with it. I would say on one of the sites I use, you can actually speed up their audio. So I actually listened to that on 1.5 speed. So I was speeding them up, which worked, but it's just not ideal. So you've got to look for stuff that's 3D. So what does that mean? Well, we're using slides, so I use Prezi the whole time. I think it's much more interactive, much more user-friendly. So there'll be slides in everything that I deliver. Goes without saying. Secondly, I use a lot of videos, so if you want to find out who I am, behind the scenes. You can sort of see and hear what I'm up to. So I use a lot of video in what I do as well. So typically, a module for, say, a 7-module course has obviously slides and video. The other big thing that I like doing, probably for each of my modules, if not the bulk of them, is have an interview with an expert as well, just to bring you someone and something that enhances the learning. It's a kind of a bit of a bonus, so I might have 3 courses kind of put together, 3 modules to kind of linking together, and the kind of 4th one might be an interview and so based on the subject area. So I really like that approach. I wouldn't underestimate the written word as well. Sometimes you don't get that online because it's just all video or slides. So what I do for all my courses then is I produce an ebook. So if you want to go away before, during, or after, you can have a 30-40 page ebook, whatever it might be, all kind of thrown into the overall package, so you can learn it on that way as well, which is really, really helpful. And kind of similar to that, there's a lot of written things you can do. So I've written some articles, particularly for courses. I've done some self-assessment diagnostics and questionnaires and things like that. So it just gives you the whole approach. So be careful you don't go for one-dimensional learning, because it can get a bit dull, if I'm honest. You want a kind of 3D, if not more, approach to that. The last main area I would look at, again a word of caution in terms of the maturity of online learning, is make sure you've got a bit of P&L, as I call it, profit and loss. Make sure it's good production and make sure there's good learning as well. You often find a bit more P's than L's, really. A lot of things are developed by people who are absolute experts in their fields, and they produce it really well, they know their stuff. But the big question mark is, do they know how to impart and create that learning experience for you? So I would add that as a word of caution. I'm really lucky on these P&Ls because not only do I end up producing workshops in terms of visuals and audio on a very daily basis, that's really familiar to me. And of course, learning is what I do. So the P and the L just joins up beautifully for me. I would just keep an eye on that. Make sure you think that the kind of learning is well structured for you. Because production alone, whizzy slides and fancy videos are great. But if it's not structured in the right way with conclusions and opportunity to try it, learning and action points, then you might get a bit unstuck. So those are my big 5 points, really. There's the investment, that it is good value for money. The fact that you can access it anytime, anywhere without limited distractions is really good. Think about it being kind of 3D in approach, and think about this last bit, you've got that production and learning. So what I would recommend from now, this is just purely my view, is go off and find a platform, a site that offers online learning. I use Udemy. I think they're absolutely brilliant, so I'd thoroughly recommend them. Go on there, have a look around, have a play, set up an account. It's all free to do that, and just browse, really. They'll send you a lot of notifications if you want that, to see what sort of things you're interested in. And personally, what I did, be quite honest, I took a few free courses, got used to it. Did I like the learning? Was I used to it? Put the app on the iPad, on the iPhone, and just got myself settled in completely for free. And then I thought, okay, I'm up for this. Then I can buy a few of the courses at a price. The good thing as well with a lot of online learning, particularly Udemy, is that we're able to discount as well. So if you sign up for what I do, sign up for my blog, what I end up doing is I can discount those programs. So if I've got something coming up that is really important for me, then I can discount that by 30% or whatever it might be. So do keep an eye out for that. That goes back to our first point around investment. So jump on, take a look at the stuff that I'm doing. I would say it's work in progress. There's an awful lot that goes into kind of creating everything I've just said. So if you want to kind of find out what I'm up to, just let me know, or have a look at Udemy or some of the links below and take a look from there. There's a lot more coming, but really that is the world of online learning.